I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
Welcome to episode 24 of the RAGAMUFFIN Music Podcast. This is a place where we get together every month to talk about the latest news, music and trends in the world of alternative and heavy music.
On this episode, we'll be reviewing new singles from August Burns Red and Vended, new albums from Tallah and Dayseeker, and more.
And we'll be seeing if we correctly predicted which bands were going to have a good 2022.
But first, the news. To kick things off, we finally got some Grammy nominations, and it's very interesting. The two categories that we care about, Best Rock Performance and Best Metal Performance, I'll give you a run through now. The nominations for Best Rock Performance include Bryan Adams with So Happy It Hurts, Beck with Old Man, The Black Keys with Wild Child, Brandi Carlile with Broken Horses, Idols with Cruel, Ozzy Osbourne featuring Jeff Beck with Patient Number 9, and Turnstile with Holiday.
Has to be Turnstile out of those, surely.
It's gotta be, yeah. That's what we're all hoping for, isn't it?
Turnstile should just win every category, really.
Everything. Give them all of the Grammys.
Indeed.
Grammys?
Grammys. And the nominees for Best Metal Performance are Ghost with Call Me Little Sunshine, Megadeth with We'll Be Back, Muse with Kill or Be Killed, Ozzy Osbourne featuring Tony Iommi with Degradation Rules, and Turnstile with Blackout.
Fuck Muse.
Fuck Muse, up the Turnstile.
Up Turnstile.
Just interesting. It's nice to actually see a band that have had a breakout, like, acclaimed year actually be recognised. So, I'm talking about Turnstile, by the way, not Muse.
It's nice to see it, like, not necessarily just based off of that previous merit and based off a name. And it is like they've had their breakout year, like you mentioned. There's a little bit more, I think, satisfaction out of, like, the alternative community seeing something like that on there. They're like, oh, okay, maybe they are actually paying a little bit of attention into what's current and what's happening now. The Heavy Music Awards are getting bigger. They've announced their next show to be on Friday, 26th of May, now at the OVO Arena in Wembley. Tickets are on sale for the first time, with early bird currently available for $22.50. We've been a couple of times before, so you can check out our vlogs to see what the experience is like. We've had great times there. They've not announced any live bands yet, but stay tuned.
It's a very interesting change. I think it has a very nice intimate feel at the Kentish Town Forum, and it'll just be interesting to see how that sort of community feel translates to a larger venue.
Yeah, I do hope it doesn't lose that community feeling like you just mentioned it has at Kentish Town Forum. But it's great to have such a big award show for heavy music. There's been a few festival lineup announcements since we last talked about festivals. We've had Outbreak announcing their 2023 lineup with a bit of an interesting change. They seem to have gone down a bit of a hip-hop route. They've got Denzel Curry, Death Grips, and then some bands we're a bit more familiar with, Code Orange, Converge, Earl Sweatshirt's an interesting one as well, I think. Loathe coming back, Show Me the Body, Trapped Under Ice, Turnover, and many more. What are we thinking?
It's massively interesting, and I think the more that I think about it and look at it, the more sense it starts to make to me. I think I was pretty blindsided by it when I first saw it. And we did spend a lot of time sort of speculating that they've got a bigger venue now. How are they going to fill that space? But I think ultimately this is the most interesting way to push the festival forward. And I think overall the reaction's been positive. I think you will get a few sort of classic hardcore fans, maybe a little bit disgruntled about this, but you got sometimes it's sort of the same thing with Download. Like if you don't make things fresh, it will end up getting boring. So for me, I don't think I'm fully sold on getting a ticket yet, but I am very intrigued and excited by what they've done.
I think very similar to that. It was such a great time for the first time we went this year. I think you can see, like, looking at our vlog from it, we had an amazing time. It was so much fun and a completely different experience from anything we've ever been to before, and we had a wonderful time. So I think there is that hope that we can go again next year if we have the opportunity to, and it all works out. And interested to see what else they put on the lineup after this.
We've also had 2000 Trees announce their first big wave of acts for 2023, with Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes headlining the Saturday night. Some big bands underneath as well, The 100 Reasons, Rival Schools, The Wonder Years, which I'm of course very happy about, Holding Absence, and so many more. I think this is such a strong lineup.
I mean, they confirmed it as well that Holding Absence are doing 2 different sets. And they said about their the Legacy stage on the opening day, on the early bird day. But I'm intrigued to see what's happening with the second set because they seem to be teasing something. But one of the best vibes I think we've ever been to at a festival in terms of just the atmosphere, everyone you'd interact with, everyone was so nice. The festival layout was phenomenal. It was an incredible time. Very much looking forward to it again next year.
Yeah, it's a festival that a sentiment that we've sort of shared before is that regardless of the lineup, we'll go for the vibes. But it helps when the lineup is immense. I think Frank.
I mean, more often than not, the lineup is great as well.
Yeah, and I think it was more just a case of it wasn't waiting to see if the lineup was going to be good. It was just waiting for it to drop.
Yeah, seeing who was going to be on it.
I think it's great. Like you've said, Dan, this one's pretty much made for you. But there are some really exciting bands sort of lower down. Heart Attack Man, Koyo, Prestamiko. And then as you get sort of towards the top end, Cancer Bats, Loathe, The Wonder Years. It's just a really, really fun, diverse lineup, which is what Trees is all about. So, well done.
And finally, lead singer of Fozzy and professional wrestler Chris Jericho was on The Masked Singer US, dressed up as a dinosaur. I think most people that are fairly familiar with their music could tell it was him straight away seeing the videos. But it looked like a lot of fun. And quite a cool little alternative rocky kind of feel added into just a daytime kind of show.
Yeah, I'm a big wrestling fan, so this was quite fun for me to see. I mean, well, Chris Jericho sings his own theme song, which is a banger, by the way. So as soon as you played me that clip, you're like, guess who this is? I was like, it's so obviously Chris Jericho. But bless him, you know, good for him. James, what did you recommend last time?
I recommended the EP Fault by Alpha Wolf.
I thought it was amazing. It was very, very fun. I think they've written some of the most, like, for a genre that's very oversaturated and at times very boring, they've written some of the most interesting and coolest metalcore I've heard in a long time. I think, obviously, kicking it off, my introduction to them being the Hold an Absence split has Hotel Underground's one of my favourite songs of the year, and I think it's an amazing song. And this entire EP meets that level that they set with that song. So I just thought this was really great, and I think Lockie's tone of voice is perfect for this, and it makes the whole thing so much easier to listen to when you can understand and feel some aggression in what he's doing. A lot of metalcore vocalists sort of just going through the motions, aren't they? But this is a really, really funny EP, and I love an interlude. So
an interlude on an EP.
Yeah. Oh,
you don't get those very often.
Give me more.
I haven't got much more to add than Alex. Really, it's cleared things up beautifully there. What I will add though is everything I've listened to from Alpha Wolf, the thing that struck me the most is how tight and how brilliantly produced it all sounds. Everything just sounds crystal clear. You're getting every note, every bass drum, every riff, everything just sounds great.
But it's done without losing the energy and the humanity of it, because a lot of bands when the production's very polished and clean, it sort of loses that sense of realism. Do you know what I mean? Like snapping to the grid and whatnot. But this EP and what they did on the Hold an Absence split is amazing. What did you recommend, Dan?
I recommended the Beauty School's debut album, Happiness. It's got a dog on the cover.
Yes, it does. This is just my absolute jam. I think you've recommended some bands to me, throughout this whole year that I've really, really fallen in love with, and this is just another great example. I think they're a band that I would love to see on a Slam Dunk lineup. The whole album was just so easy to listen to. I thought it was weird that this sort of genre feels often like summertime music, but actually listening to this complemented the time of year and the season really well. Just has that really good stare out a window and listen to it vibes. I think
it's just funny because the first time I listened to it, I was on the bus. I was just staring out the window.
Yeah. Evergreen and Pawn Shop Jewels stood out the most to me, but I love the whole thing.
No, I thought it was very chilled, very nice, wonderfully produced. Drum sound was fantastic and beautifully well mixed. Guitar tones were gorgeous. It's never going to be the music that instantly is going to be something I choose to put on when I open up Spotify and I'm listening to it wherever, if I'm walking about, if I'm training, whatever it's going to be. But I think like Alex has mentioned, you've ended up recommending like a few different bands, like kind of with this vibe, and it's at least I can say, even if it's not a go-to for me, like giving me a lot of a greater, I think, interest and appreciation for this kind of bit of music. And I think like there were some good tunes on here that stood out. I think like Oak and Monster were big for me, and I really enjoyed those. But it's just a very, very solid album. I think they would fit in very well in a lot of those kind of festivals next year that we could end up seeing them at, whether it be a Slam Dunk. I could see them at Trees.
I would love them to be at Trees.
And I think I only really heard good things from you after you saw them live recently, which we'll touch on a bit more later. But no, very enjoyable.
And I recommended Free by 100th. The episode before this, we talked about 100th's shoegaze album Rare. And I thought, let's throw it back to when they were a hardcore band, see which version of 100th you prefer. Oh, I wonder what it's going to be.
This one. I think after you'd spoken about them years ago, this was like the 100th I was expecting. So very much enjoyed this. Great riff, solid drums. I got like a great two-step feel so many times listening to it that it was just so fun and enjoyable. And it kind of then knowing about them not doing this anymore made me a little bit sad. Because I'd love to have seen this live, and them at an Outbreak would be phenomenal. And I think the short length of songs being like 2 to 3 minutes just gives it an unrelenting force, and you kind of get that slight chance to breathe within it before you're just thrown right back into it. And yeah, very much enjoyable. And I wish they were still doing this music, but let them do what they want to do.
I mean, it's a completely different band from the newer stuff for sure. But I really like it. There's some great hardcore elements here. The intro shows a bit of a melodic side to it, and then immediately after that, there's a great chorus on Unravel. I got some great kind of counterparts vibes at times from it. And
they toured together a lot.
Yeah,
when 100th were a hardcore band. Yeah.
And there was also some very strong Your Demise similarities, particularly on Break Free, which is their most streamed song for a reason, and that's because it's a proper headbanger with a great hook.
Is their most streamed song that?
Well, on that album at least.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I was gonna say if they've completely switched up genres and an old song is still the most streamed, that would be insane.
No, I didn't check what actually is the most streamed, but off that album, that was the most streamed one.
Yeah, I'll have a quick look.
Oh, he's already on it.
Just for our own curiosity.
And for the record, I prefer the newer 100th. This is great, but
yeah,
it's just something a bit more different. Although I would be a bit annoyed if I'd liked this 100th and then they released.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Something else.
That jarring kind of change in sound.
Yeah.
Well, their top 5 songs on Spotify are all songs from the new era, so from the latest 2 albums. So,
how many streams have they got?
Neurotic, the top song, is at 5 mil.
Okay.
What's Inside Out?
I think it's Break Free. It doesn't even say now.
Oh, you can check on hang on.
Yeah, maybe that's probably where I saw it.
Let me check.
I think it had about 2 million, 2.5 million or something.
2.2.
Mm.
Interesting. That's still going to put it.
That's still more than the songs off the latest album.
Yeah, that makes it the 3rd most streamed song I think overall, but it's not in their current top 5 on Spotify. Anyway, moving on. Should we talk about some new music?
Let's do that.
That's the best kind of music.
Kicking things off, we got a new song from New Jersey band Can't Swim. I heard they found you face down inside your living room. I really, really love this song. I love this band so much, and I think the thing that always stands out to me is every song sounds like he's really... It's going to sound stupid because so many singers do this, but he sounds like he means every single word. And it always sounds like he's singing directly to the person like of subject. Like, it doesn't feel like he's writing about something or about someone. He's writing directly to them, which makes this song and like the emotional resonance of this song so much stronger. And I just think it's a really, really enjoyable song. Even like despite sort of the sadness in the lyrics, it's still an enjoyable song to listen to.
Yeah, it's a great emo ballad, I think. I like how it seems to add layers and sounds a bit grander and greater as the song goes along and builds to quite an emotional kind of ending towards the end actually as well. And the imagery from the lyricism as well really kind of builds a story and paints a really vivid picture, I think, of what they've experienced and what's going on.
I think I agree with you both. The vocals are such a big forefront, and the tone in particular was lovely. There's such a heartfelt kind of message with the lyrics that I think so many people can connect to in different ways from that. But even from the musical side, the bass was so nice and prominent. The change into like the tom-driven beat during the chorus really, I think, helped elevate like the most important part of that song and really helped carry the fluency and allow it to progress naturally as a song. Really, really enjoyable, and I've kind of like dipped my toes in and out of listening to Can't Swim based on like bits you've played before, Alex, but this was like a very, very welcome song to listen to and very much enjoyed that.
What's interesting about this band as well is like they did 2 EPs pretty close together, one of which was like pretty much as heavy as They Go, and the other one was pretty much all acoustic or like all very, very relaxed, which like once they did that, it then opened up the scope of like what they could do musically so much more, which is a similar thing to Foo Fighters did that with a double album. And then it was like after that, nothing was off the table. And I think that's the most exciting thing going forward with this band is like the sort of unpredictability of the sound that they can create. But I love them.
August Burns Red are back. They have brought out a new song featuring Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage, and the song is Ancestry. First song for an upcoming album which they've said coming out in March called Death Below. From me being an August Burns Red fan, I loved it. I enjoyed it. Frantic metalcore. I love Jake's vocals. Matt Grinder's drumming is amazing. Got me head banging. Groovy riffs. But I'm already a fan and I enjoyed it. Whereas I think you two come at it from a different angle a little bit more. How did you find it?
To be honest, like it's not a bad song. I just don't really know what to say about it. It feels like it's just a standard metalcore song. Again, it does nothing wrong. It just it ticks every box still that you want from a metalcore song. Great riffs, driving beats, amazing vocals, both sort of in the chorus and the screams as well in the verses. But it just does that. It doesn't really innovate or anything. It's just doing what it needs to do.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Because I know that they're a good band, and it's like they're obviously all incredible at what they do. The drumming is amazing. The riffs are great. I think Jake sounds great, but I've never just had like that click moment with this band of like, okay, I get it now and I like it. Yeah, it's enjoyable, but like as soon as it was done, I didn't really have any like lasting impact of the song on me. Where it was just like, oh, okay, I need to listen to this again because it didn't really sort of stamp a mark in me. But
I can see what you mean with it, because I wouldn't say they're anywhere near like the toppest tiers of what metalcore could be or has been. I think it's just always been, they've been very good, very consistent, and kind of always had like that particular sound. And the click for me was I did an extensive dive through some of their previous discography, which helped. I think from an entry point from just singles, they're not an easy band to get into. So maybe with the album coming up in March, that might give a little persuasion to it, because I think they do much better in a long form album kind of format than just listening to singles. So maybe that might be the key to understanding a little bit more and like grabbing you in. But we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, it's by no means bad. Like it's not really the sort of metalcore that I'm massively into, but that's why we do this.
Next up, we've got Vended with Overall.
I just think they keep going from strength to strength.
This is the best one yet.
I agree.
Like, off the bat with just Griffin's vocals, I think they're so in your face. They demand the attention immediately. And he has much more like a mix-up of his vocal styles in here. And it's kind of, the change-up in the vocals, I think, helps almost guide the controlled chaos of their music. I think they have such a large dynamic range with what they can do. There's moments of just it being an unrelenting force with those head-banging inducing riffs. And I think they haven't really put a step wrong. They've shown a great transition from how they started to where they're growing and the trajectory they're on now. And it just makes me so much more excited just seeing what's going to come through with this, with them helping progress the new wave of new metal along with like Tallah and this revival we've kind of seen recently, and after their last EP being so strong, I just can't wait to see where they go from here. It's just from strength to strength to strength.
That might be the first time one of us has nailed the word trajectory first time.
I think it might well be. I'm very pleased.
You said the phrase controlled chaos, which I think sums this band up really well. It felt, to me, it's like everything we've heard up until this point had really, really strong foundations. They had great riffs. He's a very talented vocalist. Drums are always amazing. And it never felt like they had been able to put it all together in like the most concise way. It was always like, yeah, it's a great song, or it's a fun song, but it's not like the song. Whereas I feel like this is the most like defining song for this band, where it's like every detail and every like part of this song is structured, and like they've put a lot of time and attention, it feels like, into it, and the end result is flawless, I think.
Yeah, I think this is their best song so far for all the reasons that you guys have outlined, but also because I think it's the one where they've most broken away from being a bit Slipknotty.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this is kind of a significant moment for them, sort of breaking away from the label of being Slipknot 2 and just being Vended.
They found their
own
identity.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, which is something we said for a long time. Like, it was inevitable when they launched that people were gonna be making the comparisons, and we did as well. But there was gonna be a time where they were either gonna be able to break away from it, or they were gonna get buried under it. And now, like, I think, especially as we move into the new year, they can start taking tours that are different, and start playing to new audiences. I think they'll really, really find their feet in the new year. Graphic Nature have announced a new album, A Mind Waiting to Die, and dropped new single, Killing Floor. A lot of their songs are usually written from a personal point of view, whereas this one is a bit of a change. It's a bit more of a concept song, but still a very interesting premise, and I very much enjoyed it. What did you guys think?
I really like the pipe sounding noise that they've got in the background that just sort of dips in and out whenever it's required. Basically, I think it's really cool. And then the ending as well is crazy heavy.
I'm right thinking they're British, aren't they?
Yeah,
British.
They are
British,
British. My immediate kind of call through, I was getting such a strong new metal vibe listening to this. And then it also kind of gave me the kind of immediate thoughts of like comparing them to... Oh, I've forgotten the fucking name. Why is it already just gone from my head? Who did we see in Oxford the day before? Bring me. Oh my God.
Blood Youth.
Blood Youth. Yes. I was getting immediate nostalgia and thinking of Blood Youth, and how previously on a podcast, I think I said they're almost becoming like a UK equivalent of Slipknot with their sound. And I kind of got that from this a little bit as well. I think there seemed like such a new metal influence on this, with like the slamming drums, the riffs, the vocals are right in the forefront, beautifully in the mix. And I think I felt like I had a Metal Grimace face on the whole time listening to this. It was great fun, very natural in moving between the sections. I think that there were some really well thought out little instrumental sections that help progress the song into the next part and kind of keep it growing and the flow for it. And for me, this is kind of the best introduction to Graphic Nature I think I could have really had. So yeah, I'm loving this. And they're down next year, I think. So
Yeah,
I'm now like, okay, cool. I want to see them.
they're to me, they're one of the most, along with Harriet, one of the most exciting up and coming bands in the scene. And I think this debut album is going to blow a lot of people away. So I'm very, very excited for it.
One last single for this month, that is Enter Shikari featuring Cody Frost on Bull. I don't think this feels like a Cody Frost feature. This feels like it's a full-on collaboration, which I wasn't sure about at first, because I was thinking, hey, this is meant to be an Enter Shikari song. What's going on here? But actually, I really enjoy it. The electronic parts are great, with a bit of a drum and bass vibe through the choruses, which you can't help but move around to. Would have maybe liked to have heard Rao a bit more, although Cody's vocals are brilliant, and I've enjoyed delving deeper into their own music as well. And it makes me wonder whether the next album could be a collaboration project, or maybe these singles, this one and the Wargasm one, are just a thing on their own, perhaps.
Yeah, or maybe an EP, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this, how familiar are you with Cody Frost's music?
All I'd seen before was she'd done an Enter Shikari cover, I think.
Okay. Because I think that's a really good way of you wording it, that this seems more like a collaborative effort than a feature. Because one thing that I felt and it's something I said to James when we weren't recording, when we first listened to this song, is like I find it quite difficult to get like a handle on Shikari's sound. Like I feel like sometimes there's no stability to what they're gonna do, which like I think there's something exciting about that, definitely, because the unpredictability is fun, but also I feel like as I'm still trying to get into them all the way, and I feel like the unpredictability is sort of putting up a barrier for me of like, okay, this is what I think they now. As soon as I feel like I've got my head around what they sound like, I listen to another song that's completely different, and it completely alters my like perspective of the band again. And so this one, I feel like I need to if I sort of rewire my brain to view it as like a collaborative song rather than a Shikari song, I think I'll probably enjoy it more.
I think that's what helped me kind of love it a bit more. Was when I first listened to it, I was thinking, "Oh, where's Shikari at? Where's Rao? Where are these vocals at?" But yeah, once I viewed it as more of like a collaborative thing, and that Shikari have made the song and Cody's sung over it, that kind of not necessarily made me comfortable with it, because I wasn't ever uncomfortable with it, but it made me learn to enjoy the song a lot more, I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think I echo a lot of what you said in terms of like trying to get into them. It's just, I think because there are so many different genres or sounds or interpretations of like what they're trying to write, that you can't really nail them down to a distinct sound, apart from it being probably just, maybe chaotic isn't the right word, but because it can jump so quickly from one to another, it can be quite jarring. So you can't really nail it down and say, oh, they're this type of band or they're this type of band, which I think in two ways works, and it doesn't, in terms of like us trying to get into them can not work. But in terms of trying to break down barriers, be innovative, and create and make their own stamp on music in general, not just like the alternative music, but I think just music as a whole, because like you said, they delve into like D&B. I think that's something brave to go out and try and do, and being a trailblazer and that kind of effort with it. And I feel like it's quite cool that they're doing these collaborations with other artists who are maybe don't have the platform they've got, and to try and boost them up a little bit more, say, hey, go listen to these guys now, which I think is something very commendable and quite cool. And I think it's nice to see a band of a high level doing that. However, like for this as a song for me, I couldn't get into it. I couldn't enjoy it.
This is basically what I was expecting to be.
Yeah, like I can really fully appreciate what they're doing and how they go about it and what they stand for. Like Alex played me a few other songs, and like some of the political messages and things that they have behind it, I think are fantastic, and it's great for a band. I understand the magnitude of them and what they do for the scene, and it's great for them to be able to be outspoken and do this kind of thing. But in terms of grabbing me in as a listener, there isn't something firm enough for me to like grab onto and like really be like, okay, cool, I've got this, now I can go and listen to more. So it's a little bit, I love what they're doing, but also I don't, because I can't really get into the music. So it's like a weird kind of juxtaposition and in between for me with that. But fair play to them. Right, on to the first album we've got here. Dayseeker have released Dark Sun. I've seen this name of Dayseeker coming around quite a lot recently. I think they've done a tour in America with Holding Absence. I'd seen the name popping up, so knowing this was coming up, I hadn't listened to any of the singles beforehand, so it was a completely clean slate, and I wanted to kind of just see how I'd enjoy it. And I loved it. I think everything right from the start, like with Dream State, had such a nice flow. I think the song takes you on a journey. The synth melodies carry through nicely. The vocals have like a hint of heaviness at times, where like the end of choruses, the aggression seems to slightly seep through. And like with that song in particular, the bridge hits, the riffs drop, and the screams enter. And I feel like with that first single to kick off an album, it just encapsulates all of what you can expect from them. And I think the rest of the album just carries on like that. It's really, really beautifully mixed in terms of the melodies, with the glimpses of heaviness, with showing that diversity of their music. I feel like the vocals are such a strong key point in really pulling you into the music. And I don't really feel like there's any songs on this album that kind of like drop off. I felt I could listen to this pretty much from start to finish very easily, and then be surprised like, oh crap, I'm at the end of an album now. And just restarting it. It was so easy listening for me. the delivery of the vocals and like the emotion behind it very much did remind me of Lucas from Holding Absence. I could see those similarities between it. And
you can see why they've worked together.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So many great songs on here, like Dream State, Neon Grave, Afterglow, Without Me. I love this album, and this is definitely one that I now need to delve more into Dayseeker from this. I loved it.
Yeah, I was pretty much in love with it from the first listen. I think the albums that I always end up enjoying the most are the ones that you feel like you can get really wrapped up in, and like you can exist within that world for 30, 40 minutes, however long it is. And this is one of those albums where it's like, as soon as it was on, like, it's not one that I think I would ever like shuffle or whatever. It's one that you have to enjoy all the way through for the journey that it takes you on. I feel like this takes a lot of nods from Sempiternal, sort of the way that I mean, I'm not familiar with the rest of their catalogue, but it feels like sort of an expansive world of instruments that they've used on this one. I don't know if that's something that is new or not, but it feels like with this one, you can tell that, because given the sort of the subject matter behind a lot of the album being the passing of one of the members' fathers, you sort of understand like the whole album exists in that headspace, and they strive very well to create like a landscape with the instruments they use throughout that sort of carries you all the way through. And I think it's paced really well. And I've seen a lot of like criticism online that it's not as heavy as previous work, but I think it's heavy in a different way. It's not heavy in the sense that here's a breakdown. It's heavy in the sense that
here's
like,
an emotional breakdown.
Emotional damage.
But no, I think that's like that's
Scottish.
Wow. No,
anyway, Alex, you're making a really profound point there.
Well, I think it's just it's an important album to listen to, and an album that just sort of envelops you when you listen to it.
Yeah, I'm now fully on board the Dayseeker hype train. It's poppy, it's riffy at times, it's heavy when it needs to be sonically, and then heavy in terms of lyrical content as well throughout it. But what I would think really makes this album is the vocal melodies. They just really, there's something about them that just really hooks you in and really becomes an earworm. I keep finding myself humming along to some of these choruses, just doing day-to-day tasks, even if I'm not thinking about the album. Crying While You're Dancing is a huge sad pop ballad. And in fact, I think it maybe gives this whole album its own sort of label as like misery pop or misery core.
I love that.
Or something like that. The only way I think this album suffers in a way is that I think its punchiest and most aggressive songs are literally the first two on the album. So maybe it kind of blue balls as you into expecting a few more chunkier riffs throughout the rest of the album. But again, like Alex has mentioned, they're not necessary, really.
Yeah. And last up, we finally got the second album from Tallah, The Generation of Danger. Oh, they made us wait, didn't they?
But was it worth the wait? I reckon so.
Yeah.
I think the only downfall of this album really is there's so much going on that you really have to sit down and focus and give it your full undivided attention, which I've not had too much time to be able to do. But I do really, really enjoy it as well. It's almost like they're darting about between a bunch of different nu metal influences. There's moments that are a bit more Slipknot-like. There's moments that are very corny. And then there's other moments that are completely new and unrecognisable and are just a Tallah thing.
I think that they're back, and I love it. Like you kind of say, it's the most wonderful, chaotic mix of music that you can kind of expect from them, but I think they still hit you left wing with stuff like on Wendred. I think they jump between different genres slightly, but it's not jarring. Like they bring the acoustic guitar out, and it's like, okay, where the fuck's that come from? And it works. Like, the whole kind of concept with it. I think from the first like main track of In the Hard Reset, you're pretty much like hearing everything Justin can do, and right from the start, you're like, yeah, I remember why he's such a great vocalist and how diverse what he can do is. And I think it just flows from track to track so well. I think there's 15 tracks, I think it is quite long, which is like my only pitfall, really. Trying to sit down and go through it in one go of being like nearly an hour, I think it is, and having a lot of songs that go from like that 4 to even I think 6 minute kind of timing can be quite a slog. Trying to sit down and do it in one go, and especially with them doing concept albums, if you want to go through it from start to finish and get that, that can be difficult. But I think if you're taking some of the songs individually as well, they've got some great pieces of music. Like Shaken Not Stirred, I think is my favourite on the album. Like even after it came out as a single, there's just slamming riffs. The song feels like the perfect encapsulation, I think, of Tallah as a whole. And I think they just absolutely slayed it. And I don't know if either of you guys have watched like the 30-minute video they put out of Justin kind of going through the concept. And
I didn't know that they'd written a lot of this album before Metriphagy.
There's a lot of it. So the majority of it was written before Metriphagy.
Lyrically?
The whole album was written pretty much before Metriphagy. And like they had it done pre-lockdowns and ready to go and all this kind of thing, yet they went in the different direction with it, which I think was clever. But the other thing is that he talks a little bit about how obviously there's the order of the songs telling a story, but he said there's also a different way where you can put the songs in a different order and it can still tell the story in a slightly different way.
Well, no, I think the order is actually already not chronologically correct.
Yeah, it's like
I think from what Justin was saying, it already in the album order that it's in, it isn't chronologically correct in terms of the storyline. But he also said that he wrote it in a way that you can just stick it on shuffle and the storyline will still make some kind of sense.
She's very clever.
It doesn't necessarily matter what order you listen to it in. You still get.
So
the
I
gist
imagine
of it.
like a lot of the lyrics will reference other and call back to things that. That's very interesting.
Which again is something that, well, the concept as a whole is something that I need to give the album a bit more attention with. I think to fully absorb it and understand what's going on.
Well, I think that's what we said when we first heard Metriphagy was like, this is an album that you can enjoy on the surface. You don't have to dig any deeper and, go into the full lore of that album. Because again, there's a lot going on in that album, both in terms of like actual length and in terms of the story. And I guess it's the same here because I've enjoyed, every time I've listened to this, I've enjoyed it. And some of the times I've shuffled it, sometimes I've played it start to finish. And the length is a bit difficult sometimes. Like, it's a long album. Like you said, there's a lot going on. 10
characters in this story as well.
Yeah.
Christ. So it's, what, as in just referenced or like from perspective of... Is it just from
they're like referenced in lyrics as part of the main storyline. There's like one that he tacked on at the end where it's like, this is kind of a character, but they're kind of briefly mentioned all these kind of different things. But when he goes through and explains it, there are 10 different distinct characters.
Okay, I'll have to watch that. That's interesting.
And
but that helped me enjoy Metriphagy more, watching his song by song, and breakdown and like sort of storytelling.
The other thing which he said was quite cool was, while like there is nothing directly that links this to Metriphagy, he has put in certain callbacks, but in no way is this a continuation or anything. So he said people like might find things in there that you might think, oh, this is like because of this, and linking to that. That is not the case. This is its own story, just with almost fourth wall breaking kind of, hey, here's a little reference.
More of a wink than like an actual
link
connection.
To stories. But I think they keep killing it. I'm still desperate for them to come to UK. Please come and tour over.
Someone just book them. Come on.
They're gonna absolutely kill it. And I think as soon as they can start touring internationally, I think the only way is up for this band. They've done amazing things so far, and they haven't put a step wrong.
And lastly, we want to give a little shout out to Sharkbait. We've checked out their new song,
Smile and Wave. And
it's really good.
They said in particular it's a fast-paced, powerful pop-punk anthem about the hometown, the genre's arch rival, and the friends that make it bearable, as well as the desire to see the world, albeit on a shoestring budget.
It's such a fun song. I think the thing that really we all enjoy about this band is that everything they've done so far showcases a different side to them. We've had like a sort of a slower ballad. We had just an absolute raging anthem in Better Late Than Never. And now this one is just fast, aggressive, smacks you in the face. Like, even on the first listen, it was catchy and I was like getting into the hook. So they're just such an incredible band and a really, really exciting band in the genre.
It's almost like if Old Neck Deep and 4 Year Strong amalgamated together and had a little baby and called it Sharkbait.
It's another big tune from them, like you said, Alex. They've done so many good bangers before, and I think they just keep growing, and they're teasing more singles for next year, all leading up to something bigger, I think, coming on to 2023. So I think definitely one to keep an eye out for, and would love to see them at some UK festivals next year, hopefully. I think they would suit something like Slam Dunk very, very well.
We love Sharkbait. You should go and listen to their new song, Smile and Wave, right now. Actually, no, do it after you listen to the end of this episode. Should we talk about some gigs we went to?
I mean, you guys can because I didn't, but go for it.
Loser.
Well, we've been to quite a bit, haven't we?
You've been a very busy bee.
I've been very, very busy.
What was your first one?
I can't remember. I kicked things off in Bournemouth with the Wonder Years playing a special anniversary show for the Upsides in Suburbia. It was meant to happen earlier this year before Slam Dunk, but that COVID thing, do you remember that?
Ugh.
Crazy. Yeah, that got in the way and meant they had to reschedule it for now. And it was worth the wait. It was a lot of fun. Great to hear some songs that I guess probably won't be played live again, quite possibly.
How much do you love those albums? Like compared to the rest of their discography?
They're not my favourite too. Suburbia I do like a lot, but it's just good fun to go back and hear those songs live again, I guess. The supports are great as well. Beauty School, who we've mentioned on the podcast already, were really, really good. Safe Face, not necessarily my kind of thing, but brought some really, really great energy, and I really enjoyed their live show. What did I do next?
You saw them again?
I did see them again. Might as well talk about that one straight away. I saw the Wonder Years again in Bristol, this time as part of the actual tour, playing songs from the new album, which sounded amazing. And to be fair, the setlist as a whole just did a great job of spreading across their whole discography, really. Like a lot of bands nowadays will release a new album and they'll play like the majority of that and then just a few off like the last couple of albums or something, or a few hits. But they played, I think, like a 19-song set spread across the whole discography. There's something there for every era, and it was such a great time. Probably, it's up for debate. There might be some recency bias, but it might be my favourite Wonder Years show.
I was literally just about to ask you that. That's huge.
And same support for that tour as well.
It was the
it?
same support as well, yeah.
So
which again was great.
Good, like seeing like for the first time someone like Beauty School who you started getting into, then seeing them again like a week later.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, already having an idea of what they would have been like, and yeah, I loved the album, so I was really tentative about seeing them live. I was very hopeful. I was like, please be good, and they were really, really good. Before that second Wonder Years show, somewhere in between, I saw Biffy Clyro in Birmingham, which was good fun. Architects left a lot to be desired, I think, as supports. Although I love them, I think they're brilliant. I don't have a lot of love for the new album, which I hoped would change from hearing some of the songs live. But it just felt like something was missing. I think maybe because they were playing an arena show to a crowd that wasn't necessarily theirs, it felt like the energy was perhaps not there. I don't know, but I'll still see them again. I'm sure I'll give them another chance.
Well, that's a shame because we've been to quite a few arena shows in our time, and like I think we always have noted a lot of the support bands very actively trying to win over the crowd. And
yeah, that's really, the thing. It felt like they weren't even trying to do that.
Yeah,
they played it very safe with the set list. I think the only song they played that wasn't on the most recent two albums was Doomsday.
Yeah,
but even then, it didn't pack the punch that it normally does.
That is a shame.
It is a shame. Biffy, however, were excellent. The new stuff, great. They sprinkled a couple of oldies in there, which was a nice surprise. Glitter and Trauma off one of the earlier albums. 57 as well off of Black and Sky. Very, very good time.
How does it compare to their Download set for you?
I think it was slightly better. Download, I had kind of hoped that they'd cater the set to a heavier audience and that they'd play some of the older ones that they actually did in Birmingham. So I guess, yeah, having their own crowd made a difference. Yeah, and chucking in being a bit more adventurous, I guess, with the set list as well helped.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess you can understand like why they did the set list they did for Download.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But they were great at Download. I enjoyed them very much.
And then
Alex
and I both went to Nothing Nowhere.
This was very, very fun. I didn't expect... I knew it would be good, but I didn't expect to have as much fun as I did. I think something that we said beforehand was he was playing with a live band. A lot of his music is obviously, especially his earlier stuff, based in sort of emo rap and related genres. So a lot of it is instrumentals. It's just like beats and stuff. But I think having a full band, like live drummer, live guitarists, made so much difference because everything felt so much more energetic, so much more fun. I mean, I didn't really expect there to be like proper pits, like full-on pits, and there was.
The pit was irresistible at times. Yeah. He played a new song. I can't remember the name of it. I'm just trying to find the set list now, but there was a breakdown in it and the riff that was just, you couldn't not mosh to it.
Yeah. But then to still also be able to have like the emotional resonance of playing a song like "I'm Sorry, I'm Trying," and the whole crowd was so loud. That was the thing that
I think the new song that I'm talking about is called "Thirst for Violence." So
there we go, perfect. But like Oxford crowds, we know can be difficult sometimes, notoriously difficult. But it was packed. I'd be inclined to say it potentially was sold out, but I don't know, or at least
I'm
close
not sure.
to it.
It would have been close. It was full.
It was loud. It was full, and it was very, very loud. And the crowd were just insane, high energy, and he was great. I loved it. And a very, very good way to cap off our year of gigs. We've been to so many.
Many gigs. A lot of vlogs. You can go and revisit them if you've been to any of them. If any you've heard us talk about at any point, you're like, hey, that sounded quite cool. I'd love to have been there. You can, while you're at home watching it. So yeah, go through and you can view all of those splendid times you've had this year.
And if you want to know...
Splendid.
And if you want to know what our favourite gig of the year was, smash the shit out of that subscribe button so that you don't miss our 2022 awards coming soon. Not that soon, be by the end of the year. Ish, yeah. Next month.
In a bit,
yeah.
Shortly.
Comments?
Ronald721 has commented on the Ocean's 8 Alaska video of the song Soul, live from the Underworld in Camden, pointing out that there was an old guy in the crowd.
There were a couple actually, I think, from that show, and they were absolutely loving it. And it's been nice, I think, the different gigs and festivals we've been to this year where the crowd has been diverse. Like there was that guy at Trash Boat at Trees who was crowd surfing, having the time of his life, who was definitely of the older crowd, I guess.
It was an old man.
He was an old man. But no, it's lovely to see that, and you kind of go into expecting it to be a younger crowd and younger generation of people, but nah, it's for everyone.
Yeah, pits for pensioners, I say. I'd love to spin kick someone's nan.
Hashtag.
Yeah, bring your grandparents to the pit day. We'll do that. We'll do a day sometime next year. We'll just all get together and have a big mosh.
Do you remember that old guy that was at Trees as well? That was quite wholesome.
Crowd surf.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Wonderful.
Caleb_the_editor commented on the Slipknot tier list saying, "This is a great video. Thought you guys had at least 100,000 subs." Which
just you and me both, mate.
Yeah, we wish that too.
Yeah, can't believe we're on any less than that. Really,
no. Which means if you're listening,
crazy.
You need to subscribe to make sure we get to that number. That's the key part here.
Izzy Rachel has commented on our Download Festival reaction. Or my Download Festival reaction, I guess.
Take credit, Dan. Go on.
Thanks, guys. Saying, this is definitely one of the best lineups that Download has ever announced. So excited for next year. We're excited for next year as well.
I think I agree. Like it shows a nice change towards the future, a nice nod back to the past, and I think a beautiful mix of music to really just show everything. Beautiful. Terry Tibbs will love it. Oh, just give me a flashback.
I'll give you a young band, but I need Metallica twice. That's the best I can do. That's all I can offer.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Architects in to bring me. Take it or leave it. But Metallica will play twice.
I like the comment on the video about no more Slipknot albums. Someone's just commented saying, "I found out about this yesterday."
Well, fucking well done, mate.
All right. So did we, but it's taken us a day to get the video out. All right.
Cheeky bastard.
The start of the month, before the Download lineup got announced, Motley 1984 commented on our video where we predicted the Download Festival headliners for 2023. They said, "Bring Me the Horizon are terrible. The guy can't sing for shit. I hope it ain't them. That would be a massive waste."
I'm guessing by his username, he'd have loved to just have Motley Crue there, and probably a lot of older bands, which
maybe.
Sucks to be you, dickhead. Don't go if you don't like it.
Or go and see someone else. Just there's going to be other bands there. It's not curated personally for you. It's for everyone. Everyone to enjoy and have a lovely time.
Yeah, and for all the crusty pricks that left comments on our problem with download video saying, "Oh, go to Bloodstock if you don't like it." Well, guess what? If you don't like this year's download, go to Bloodstock.
That's all the comments.
That's all the comments.
Let's discuss things.
Back in January's episode of the podcast, we got together and talked about which bands we thought we were going to have the best 2022. Well, the year is drawing to a close, so what better time than now to look back on what we said, see if we were right, see if we were wrong, see if any of those bands we listed actually did anything worthwhile or not.
And then maybe discuss who actually did have the best.
Yeah, see who did have the best 22.
End on a positive.
Yeah. So like one of the first ones we mentioned was Bring Me the Horizon. Having a good 2022, we predicted that. With them supposedly meant to be having the second EP out.
Oh, I think we were that was a rumour.
It was a rumour. They were heavily hinting at it because they wanted to do one a year. Having the Malta Weekender. We talked about them being like the UK version of Slipknot. Alex made a bold prediction about them being the headliner for Download, which...
Fucking huge, come on.
He did well with that. And about them headlining Reading and Leeds this year. So, like looking back on that, they did have a big 2022.
I'm not sure it's been maybe as big as we expected it to be.
No.
But again, the Malta Weekender seemed to be a great success. They headline Reading and Leeds Festival, which is huge. I think that's successful.
I think it doesn't feel that big because those are all massive things to do. So it was like, well, if our expectation is that you perform a good set at Reading and Leeds,
they've exceeded.
Then just do that. Yeah. So it's like, I think when we stop and think about how important it is for a band like that in this year to be headlining that festival, I think is actually an amazing achievement to be there with bands like Arctic Monkeys and 1975. And I think finally getting the Download headlining slot
deserved.
Is proof if proof you needed that they're one of the most important bands in heavy British music,
whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So I think they have had one of the best they have been one of the most important bands of the year.
I seem to remember suggesting Harriet as having a good year.
Yeah, it said about them being on lots of festival bills, playing with Not Loose and really breaking through. I think they've achieved that.
For sure. They've played
we
shows.
We saw them twice
everywhere.
in festivals. We saw them at Trees and at Download, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Which again is massive for them. They're a relatively young band and they essentially opened Download Festival.
Yeah. I think, yes, I remember as soon as like getting right through the gates and heading straight for that tent immediately, and like slowly but surely it started to pack in and more people were coming through, and it's lovely to see them really kick off essentially the biggest UK metal festival there is. Like, no point bullshitting around that. And I think give it a couple of years, a couple of releases, a couple of big tours, and you'll see them fast move across those stages at Download and making themselves into a bigger name.
They've got a lot of eyes on them, a lot of support from their peers as well. Like you just mentioned, James, they've been playing shows with the likes of Knocked Loose. They're touring with Boston Manor this month as well, in December. And they've got people like Sam Carter vouching for them as well.
That's always a good sign.
Also worth noting that back in April they released the 8-track Profound Morality, which was just a really amazing introduction to who they are as a band, the sort of soundscape that they can create. And hopefully moving forward they can continue to release more music because, yeah, they were a really exciting band and I think they had an amazing year this year. The next band we predicted to have a great year was Wargasm, off the back of their 2022 win. No, what year did they win at the HMAs? This year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah. Last year?
2022.
No, fuck. No, is that not what
they would have won this year for last year, I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, that's why I'm getting confused. Yeah, they won the Heavy Music Award for, I think, Breakout Band or Breakthrough Band.
British, I think.
British Breakthrough Band. They were listed in a Metal Hammer list of bands to watch. They seemingly were everywhere, sort of in the latter half of 2021. And I think the momentum they were going into the year with felt really strong.
I don't feel like it lived up to that.
But then seemingly they didn't do much.
No.
I think one of the best things was the free promotion they got from a certain guy online who would literally apply to everyone. I think is the most profound thing they've done this year in a way in terms of just like free promotion. I think he's done wonders to help get them out there just in terms of his persistence in commenting about a band that doesn't exist anymore. To which I think everyone else in the alternative metal community pretty much takes the piss out of, which is
in
quite
some
great.
ways, could you say that Wargasm US had a better year than Wargasm UK?
Well, I mean, Wargasm US's profile has definitely been elevated.
Yeah.
That's true. We did not know them before that because they are defunct. They don't exist anymore. They don't play music anymore. And therefore, fuck them.
That's bait, isn't it?
Oh, of course it's bait. I'm reading this guy in because you know he's going to comment.
Though, yeah, well, Wargasm has still had a good year. They've released a song with Enter Shikari, which is massive. They've been on a few tours. I think they played main stage Download Festival.
Yeah, I believe so.
What, this year?
Yep.
Where the fuck were we?
Yep, they did. We would have still been in the campsite.
We were probably drinking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think they opened the main stage at Download, which is big, but I think
Not
the
big
year
enough- not
the year
big
that we
enough to
were
get us there, though.
the year that we were expecting them to have, they just haven't lived up to.
Yeah, which means it was a failure. That's a joke.
Another band we looked at and discussed about having a big 2022 was Static Dress. The creativity and the outreach they were having, the fact they were playing everywhere. We saw them, I think it was, as the main support for Underground Festival pretty early on this year.
Also, just before the end of 2021, they released the Prologue EP. So
2022. They released the Prologue EP.
No,
Oh,
they
sorry,
did
I'm
not.
confused.
Where
well,
are you?
yeah, we're in. Oh shit, yeah.
You idiot. So they were so they were going
Oh, is
into
that-
so
yeah.
they released the Prologue EP at the end of 2021. So at the start of 2022, seemed like the momentum was all the way on their side, and I think it carried over, and they have had a really great year.
Yeah, they've been. I think we talked about how we were almost fatigued from how much we'd seen them live.
Yeah, they seem to be
twice at
everywhere.
Outbreak.
Yeah,
Underground Festival, as James mentioned.
Heavy Music Awards.
Heavy Music Awards. We would have seen them at Download if they weren't on at like 7 o'clock in the morning, which is an exaggeration. I think it was the 11 a.m. slot, but still, a bit too early for us.
Yep.
They're currently touring the US. They've released
Nice.
their debut full-length album. I think that's a pretty successful year.
I think that's a great year they've had, and they continue to be one of the most like unique and like a band that takes a lot of pride in their presentation and their aesthetic, which I think goes a long way into sort of making a band stand out and feel unique and important. So they've had a great year, and like especially at Outbreak, like I think Ollie even said like compared to the rest of the bands on this bill, we're basically the Powerpuff Girls. But they held their own in that set, and
Oh, for sure.
they were
They were
amazing.
really great.
Another band we had tipped to have a great 2022 was Biffy Clyro. James said that he reckons they were going to steal the show at Download.
And then what did you think of their set, James?
In my defence, I was
You weren't
cold.
there. You weren't.
I was
there.
cold. I was drunk, and I was hungry.
Where were you, man?
I went back and I roasted marshmallows at camp. However, it sounded great.
Disapprovingly shaking my head.
Sorry, how long were you there for?
Up until the encore, thank you very much.
Oh, I thought you left earlier.
He was.
than
He's
that.
got video evidence.
Yep.
Oh shit.
I walked away as they were playing. I was
Nice
going down.
try.
I was going down the track
Shit.
as they were playing the encore songs.
Well, I had some lovely
You
marshmallows.
fuck.
You fuck.
But they also had yet to tour for their 2 new albums at the start of this year. And Dan, you've actually seen them on a tour.
I did, yeah. I saw them on their arena tour, which you know because if you're listening to this podcast episode, you've already heard me talk about
You
it.
just spoke about it.
They played a smaller tour at the start of this year as well, which is really cool. You don't see a band as big as Biffy Clyro playing in small venues like, I think, Kentish Town Forum and places like that. I think they played on that tour, which is great. So they've done all sorts, really. They've done that smaller tour. They've done a big arena tour to end the year. They've done big festival appearances all across Europe. I think that's pretty good.
I think
solid,
that's great, yeah.
Another one we mentioned was Birdbox. They hadn't had a chance to play live and really support the album. With the growth they were having at such a quick kind of speed, I made the bold prediction. I thought they were going to move up on the Download bill, and they did. I'll take that W.
They had to.
and they still packed out that tent in there. And for that being like their first British appearance, man, it was incredible. It was very special. The energy in that tent was insane. They could have been at a main stage and drawn an incredible crowd, I think, if you time it with the right kind of point in the day. And then they went on their UK tour. They've continued to kind of, I think, pretty much tour relentlessly just to support that, seeing as they hadn't really had a chance at all. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a big another album coming out next year, maybe see them repeat at some festivals, because I think that showed, just based on what we saw at Download, of how big they are really already, the trajectory they're on, and the potential they've got.
I think Spiritbox's success this year can be defined by just looking at how many festivals they played this summer and how big and how energetic the crowds looked for every single one. Whether it was at Download, anywhere in Europe, the US, the crowd turned up and just showed that they had real love for that band.
So with all of those ones in mind, that's what we predicted at the start of the year. Now we can have the retrospective and look back. Who do we think actually had the best 2022?
I think there's one huge standout, and it is Holding Absence. What a fucking year they've had.
Mm-hmm.
Just touring everywhere. I think even if we wanted to avoid them, we could not have avoided them.
And would have chosen not to. I think with the EP, the split EP with Alpha Wolf was incredible.
They've toured the US for the first time, and they've gone on to tour it again. They've been on 2 US tours, which is something they wanted to do for years. Oh. They were at basically every festival.
Rightly so. And drew some great crowds.
Playing some incredible sets, like an acoustic set at Download, as well as packing out the tent. Trees was amazing. They're just what a year.
Festival.
Yeah, what a year they've had.
Oh, I love that band.
And their fan base seems to have grown with all of these performances as well. With every appearance they've made, they seem to have gained loads of new fans.
The hard work and the graft they've put in is like really paying off, like on the backside of that, in terms of seeing how they're growing and becoming a bigger band,
which has been great for them as well, because I think this is the first year that they've kind of quit their jobs and committed to doing this full time, and it's really paid off. Really happy for them.
I think also the split EP as well is one of the best decisions both bands could have made, because in the way that we as existing Holding Absence fans were exposed to Alpha Wolf for the first time, I imagine the same effect has happened the other way. And it's just exciting to see two bands that musically are at completely different ends of the spectrum. They're both alternative, but obviously one of them, they're just vastly different from each other. But to be able to support each other and coexist in the way that EP does is a testament to both of those bands' just abilities as musicians. Another suggestion for me that I think is undeniable is Turnstile.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Glow On was released in 2021, and it was a thunderously impeccable album. But they've just been able to ride this wave of success ever since. That's really it's hard to put into words, the degree to which they've sort of been able to transcend heavy music and hardcore music, playing on late night TV and The Tonight Show and things like that. Grammy nominations, which are more than deserved. The size of the venues that I'm seeing them play on their US tour at the moment. And they seem to just be able to... They've created such a genuine and special connection to all their fans. I just think they have become one of the most important bands of a generation, I think. An Outbreak was
incredible.
A dream, yeah.
And then, Trees as well, their set there was fantastic. One that's come to mind for me in particular, maybe not the best 2022, but I think an extremely strong 2022, and is Electric Callboy. I think how they've grown in the scene, doing what they're doing, I think is very clever, but you've got to get it right to kind of get that kind of comedy, but then also be very good at what you're doing, and to release a very, very strong, great album like Techno. Come over and do the set they did at Slam Dunk, where I was right at the pit having a wonderful time for that. And with the hype they've got for next year, like already, I think headlining Brixton Academy in April, withholding absence of support, which would be fantastic. I think they've really grown in this past year. Again, I think this has been the first big year of like touring coming back, and I think there are so many bands that have really benefited from that, being able to actually go and play songs they might have released during lockdowns, and they've been able to record and get their legs behind them and run out there and travel and play shows and be in front of people again. I think just benefited so many bands, and I think this is another one where they just needed to get out there. Every time they've released a song, you'd look forward to the music video about what was going to happen with it, and I think they just had a great year.
I've got one that's only just come to me, actually, and it feels like a weird one considering we don't necessarily like their new album. But Architects have had a good year.
Yeah.
Kick things off with an arena tour for those that wish to exist. Released a new album, and it doesn't matter whether you like or dislike that album. Looking at the attention it's got them and where it's got them now is undeniably a good thing. Like, I was driving to work the other morning, and for some reason my phone wouldn't connect to the Bluetooth, so I had no choice but to stick the radio on. Radio 1 Breakfast Show, Greg James, what's he playing? Architects, Deepfake.
Oh my God.
Jeez. Wouldn't expect that.
It's not very often that you get some heavy riffs and some screaming vocals on breakfast radio.
No.
But Architects have done that, and I don't think you can say that that's not a big thing.
The outreach they've been able to have in terms of just breaking through the scene. It's like a Bring Me the Horizon in a way. It's like that similar kind of path. There are moments when people listen to Bring Me and be like, maybe particularly with Ammo, I think with them, where it's like, yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of this, but for the greater musical appreciation and breaking down barriers into the mainstream more, it did the right thing for them to be able to headline Reading and Leeds, like we say, this year.
Yeah.
And now for them, I think Architects will be doing that and getting playing on, like you say, on Radio 1 Breakfast. If you'd have said this a couple of years ago, after Holy Hell had come out, perhaps, where it's like, okay, cool, they're back, they've got a new album out, and say, yeah, in a couple of years they're going to be on Radio 1 Breakfast, you'd be like, nah, that's not happening. And then I think that only comes with the dedication, the hard work they've put into it, and whether old fans like it or not, the boldness to go out there and experiment with their music and take a chance and do something different, I think is very commendable and takes a lot of balls to actually be able to do that as well. So fair play to them.
Yeah, and that album has grown on me as well, to be fair. So it's not a sense of like, I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest. I like the
not a sense of liking or disliking it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So it doesn't really. Yeah, I think not. The fact is, like you said, we can appreciate without having to like the album, the reach that it's got them and the level that they've been able to take that next step to, which is huge. I've got one last suggestion. It's a band who I saw at the end of 2021 in Oxford. Since then, they played a supporting set at Ali Pali. They showed up and showed out at festivals all across Europe and the UK, including Download and a secret set at Outbreak. Their album was one of the most hard-hitting, aggressive, heavy albums of the year. Malevolence.
The way you built that up, it was like it was a trailer.
Yeah. As soon as you started going through that, I was like,
hard-hitting album of the year.
I know you're talking
They're
about.
They're just fucking sick.
And they were
so
everywhere.
Good.
They were everywhere. You could see so many people talking about them. Such an incredible live show. Some of the most fun circle bits
never
I've
got
been
tired of seeing them as well.
No.
Every time I saw them, I was like, let's go.
I'm ready for that circle pit every time. As soon as I see them, like, I'm ready to run the circles. They were so much fun live. And they're at so many different places this year. Download, on second stage, they had a crowd. And we were in the back half of that section of the crowd. Like I said, them Ali Pali with Architects and Sleep Token was incredible. Going from strength to strength. To think that, I think I was busy. I think it was like because of previous work I couldn't make it. But to know in my head now that you saw them at the end of last year in Oxford is absolutely mad and incredible. And I would hope, please do that again, because I will not be missing out that time.
They've become popular just by being good.
Yeah.
Just by being a really, really good band, making really great music and being very likeable people.
What more can be said? Let us know in the comments which bands you think had the best 22, who your favourite band of the year was, and maybe pay us a compliment.
So we'll wrap it up by going through our album recommendations. For this one, we thought as we're getting towards the end of the year, let's have a look back at some albums we might not have had the best appreciation for, maybe not had most amount of time to go back and listen to, and maybe one of us has had the chance to do that and kind of throw them out to each other. So for me, I've heard the name Fit for a King for a while. I've always heard good things about them. They're at Slam Dunk next year, so we'll be seeing them. They released a new album, The Hell We Create, in October. I've given it a few spins and very much enjoyed it, and I think this is my pathway now to get into them and listen to them. So, yeah, The Hell We Create by Fit for a King.
I'm going to go for one that I think Alex is going to really, really enjoy. It's the self-titled album from Prince Daddy and the Hyena. There's just so many cool little influences on this album. I think there's bits that are a bit Midwest emo, there's bits that are a bit pop punk, there's other bits that are a bit indie, and bits that are just full on rock and roll. It's such a fun little album, and I think you'll both really enjoy it. Alex more so, but you'll both really enjoy it, I hope.
I'm going to recommend an album that we just didn't really get a chance to listen to when it came out. It's not one that I'm expecting to sort of be earth-shattering for sort of where our head's at for awards at the end of the year, but I think it's going to be an enjoyable album, and that's Congregation by Witch Fever. I really, really was floored by their set supporting Cancer Bats. One of those experiences where seeing it live made me get it, and I think
The old turnstile
trait. And a lot of the singles leading up to this album I've really, really enjoyed, so might be a fun one to check out. But can I be sneaky and make another little suggestion?
Oh, go on then.
Before the year is out, let's all give A Classic Symptom of a Broken Spirit one more try.
I mean, I've given it several tries, but I will go back and listen to
one
it.
more for good luck. How about that?
I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Well, that's it. If you got this far, you might as well hit subscribe, leave a like, and maybe even a comment. We do this podcast every month, and if you want to hear more podcast-related content, we have a series called A Perfect Gig, where every episode we get a guest in to give us their dream 4-band gig from opener to headliner, and a little chat happens along the way. We have some very, very exciting guests coming on for that soon. Oh, I wish I could just tell you, but I can't. But it's worth it, so just subscribe.
We've got all kinds of content on our YouTube channel. We've got tier lists. We've got gig vlogs. We've got beginners guides to help you get into bands. So for all kind of things alternative and metal, go and check that out. Subscribe, because like Alex said, there's a lot of things incoming. Not just those perfect gigs, but maybe some interviews coming soon. Who knows? There's some exciting things in the works. Dan knows. There are things coming. But yeah, subscribe and you won't miss out on any of that.
Check out our Spotify as well, where we have a thing called Ragamuffin Radio, where we individually talk to you about some songs that we've been listening to, and you get to listen to them. It's great. It's like a radio show and a playlist.
Oh, magic.
You can find us on all socials at Ragamuffin666. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you hit follow and leave a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to tell you one more time, smash the shit out of that subscribe button.
Subscribe!
We're so close to 500. It's our little dream to hit it before the end of the year. And if you want to make our dream come true...
It's our Christmas wish.
That's it. It's over. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.